Welcome. Tonight, we will journey back to one of the most captivating civilizations in human history, ancient Egypt. For most of us, sleep is something simple, a necessary rest before another day. But to the ancient Egyptians, sleep was far more than the body's pause. It was a sacred threshold, a passage to other realms, and a bridge between the mortal and the divine. Dreams, in particular, were not seen as idle wanderings of the mind. They were messages. Whispers from God's ancestors and forces unseen. A dream could bring comfort or warning. It could reveal hidden truths or the shadow of danger. To the Egyptians, every night's rest was a kind of ritual, every dream a potential prophecy. And so, across centuries along the Nile, Egyptians developed rituals of sleepways to prepare the body and spirit for the dreams that might come. Incantations, offerings, particular sleeping arrangements, and even temple practices were dedicated to drawing the divine into the fragile world of slumber. This evening, we will explore those rituals. We will walk slowly through the daily rhythms of Egyptian life as night approached. We will follow the stories of pharaohs and common folk alike who sought knowledge and healing in their dreams. We will step quietly into the mystery of temple dream incubation, where sleep was guided as an act of worship. And, finally, we will reflect on how the powerful and the humble alike navigated the dream world, one with the weight of eternity always pressing against it. As you listen, allow yourself to settle. Imagine the steady flow of the Nile outside a quiet village, the glow of oil lamps dimming as families drift toward slumber, and the cool, vast expanse of stars above the desert. Just as the Egyptians did thousands of years ago, you too may drift gently between waking and dreaming, guided by their timeless rituals. Imagine yourself in a small mud brick house somewhere along the fertile banks of the Nile. Perhaps in the time of the Middle Kingdom, over 4,000 years ago. The day has been long, filled with the rhythm of work that defines so much of Egyptian life, tending to crops, carrying water, weaving linen, or shaping clay. As the sun sets, casting a warm amber glow across the river, life begins to slow. Inside the home, the air cools. The thick earthen walls, baked hard by the sun, now hold the shadows of the evening. A small lamp flickers on a low table, its flame fed by oil pressed from castor beans. The family gathers, speaking softly, sharing bread and beer, perhaps with a little salted fish or lentils. Children sit cross-legged, their laughter subdued, as the hour of sleep approaches. The bedding is simple but functional. Mats woven from reeds are unrolled across the floor. In wealthier households, there may be wooden bed frames with woven supports and pillows shaped from carved wood, their curves supporting the neck. For the poor, the earth itself is a resting place, softened with straw or a folded cloak. Now, imagine the slow rituals before sleep. Some households might light incense made of resin or fragrant herbs, filling the room with a gentle haze of scent. Myrrh, frankincense, or juniper. Aromas were not merely pleasant. They were thought to purify the space and invite protective spirits. A parent might recite a short prayer or a protective charm for their children, invoking gods like Base, the stout, Leonine figure who guarded against evil, or Tauret, the hippopotamus, goddess of childbirth and safety. The rhythm of the Nile itself becomes part of the night. Outside, frogs croak along the riverbanks, and insects hum in the warm air. A breeze passes over the water, carrying with it the faint smell of silt and reeds. The people of Egypt knew these sounds well, and in their constancy they offered comfort. But as sleep approached, there was also caution. Night was the realm of shadows, and with it came uncertainty. They could be gifts from the gods or intrusions from darker forces. To protect themselves, some slept with amulets tied around their necks or placed beneath their mats. A small figurine of Base, with his wide eyes and protruding tongue, might stand watch in the corner, warding off nightmares. In the stillness, you can almost hear the whispered prayers. May I sleep safely. May the gods guard my spirit. May my dreams be clear and true. The act of lying down was not seen as a simple surrender to fatigue, but as a delicate crossing. The Egyptians believed that during sleep, the ba part of the soul, often represented as a bird with a human head, could leave the body and wander. Each night, this flight was both liberating and dangerous, for it exposed the soul to otherworldly realms. To dream was to experience something both intimate and cosmic. Children may have drifted off first, their breath soft against the warm air. Adults lingered a little longer, perhaps reflecting on the day or recalling a dream from the night before. In households touched by anxiety, perhaps a priest had been consulted earlier to interpret a troubling dream. For those seeking deeper guidance, the night was not only for rest, it was for revelation. In this way, each night in ancient Egypt was a small ritual. Sleep was not merely unconsciousness, it was an invitation, a hope that the gods might speak, a quiet acceptance of vulnerability, cushioned by faith in divine guardianship. As you picture this scene, allow yourself to settle into the rhythm of their lives, the simple meals, the flicker of the lamp, the cool air whispering through the reed matting. Like them, you may feel the slow, inevitable pull of rest, a passage into the quiet world of dreams. Let us turn now from the quiet homes of ordinary people to the vast halls of palaces and temples, where sleep and dreams also carried immense significance. For rulers and priests, dreams were not just private experiences, they were messages that could shape the destiny of a kingdom. Imagine the life of a pharaoh. By day, he was the divine ruler of Egypt, the living embodiment of Horus, son of the sun god Ra. But by night, as he lay down upon a bed adorned with fine linen, even pharaohs could not control what dreams might come, though they often believed that their dreams were direct communications from the gods. One of the most famous stories of a dream-shaping history comes from the reign of Thutmose IV. Around the 14th century BCE, when Thutmose was still a young prince, not yet pharaoh, he is said to have fallen asleep at the base of the Great Sphinx at Giza. As the midday heat pressed down upon him, he drifted into a dream. In that vision, the Sphinx itself spoke. It promised Thutmose the throne of Egypt, but only if he would restore the Sphinx, which at the time lay partially buried beneath drifting sand. Awakened, Thutmose took the dream as divine instruction. He cleared the sands from the monument and later ascended the throne. His dream was preserved for all time in an inscription known as the Dream Stele, which still stands between the paws of the Sphinx today. This story reveals how powerful dreams could be in the political and spiritual life of Egypt. A dream was not dismissed as a passing fancy. It could legitimize a ruler, direct public works, and reassure the people that their king was chosen by the gods themselves. Pharaohs were not the only ones whose dreams carried weight. Priests, too, played a central role in interpreting and guiding the sleep of others. Within temple walls, special chambers were reserved for what was known as dream incubation. Those seeking answers, whether for healing, guidance, or divine reassurance, might spend the night in these sacred spaces. Before sleeping, they would offer prayers, burn incense, and sometimes undergo purification rituals. The god most often invoked in these practices was Serapis, and in later times Imhotep, who had been deified as a god of healing and wisdom. The belief was simple, yet profound. By sleeping in the temple, one could receive a dream in which the god himself appeared, offering either a cure for illness or insight into a pressing concern. These dreams were recorded, pondered, and sometimes even inscribed upon temple walls as evidence of divine presence among mortals. Even beyond the temples, stories of dreams circulated widely. Consider the tale of a soldier stationed at the edge of Egypt's borders, weary from long patrols. He might dream of a falcon flying overhead, a vision interpreted as the protection of Horus, or a farmer, troubled by the poor flooding of the Nile, might dream of green fields bursting with life. Such visions could be taken as reassurance that the river would soon rise again. The Egyptians also kept records of dreams, the most famous of which is the Ramesside Dream Book, a papyrus from around the 13th century BCE. It contains dozens of dream interpretations, pairing images with their supposed meanings. For instance, dreaming of drinking warm beer might signify trouble ahead, while dreaming of eating crocodile meat could mean victory over one's enemies. Though strange to us, these interpretations offered a framework for understanding the uncertainty of sleep. What we see in all of this is a culture deeply invested in the idea that dreams mattered. They were not random, they were part of the dialogue between gods and mortals. And whether through the dream of a prince beneath the Sphinx, the guidance of a temple priest, or the private musings of a farmer, the Egyptians treated sleep as a realm where divine order and human life could meet. And so, as the night deepened across the Nile, as pharaohs laid their heads upon fine pillows and farmers rested on reed mats, the question lingered in every mind: what dream will come tonight, and what message will it carry? When we move from stories of rulers and priests into the quieter traces left by scribes, papyri, and archaeology, a vast and fascinating world of dream culture in Egypt begins to unfold. It is here in the preserved fragments of writings, in inscriptions, and in temple remains that we glimpse the depth of their belief in sleep as a sacred practice. One of the most extraordinary documents on this subject is the Ramesside Dream Book, discovered in the village of Deir el-Medina, home to the artisans who built the royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings. This papyrus, dating to the 13th century BCE, reads like a guide for those who wished to make sense of the images they encountered during sleep. It lists more than 100 possible dream scenarios, each paired with an interpretation. The structure is simple. Each entry begins with "if a man sees himself in a dream," followed by a description of the vision and then its meaning. For example, if a man sees himself looking out of a window, good means the hearing of his cry. If a man sees himself eating crocodile flesh, good means he will become a powerful official. If a man sees himself drinking warm beer, bad it means suffering will come to him. The repetition of the formula is almost hypnotic, and it reveals something very important. Egyptians believed strongly in patterns and symbolic codes. Dream imagery was not random. It belonged to an ordered system that could be learned and applied, much like reading hieroglyphs or interpreting omens in the flight of birds. Some of these interpretations strike us today as curious or even whimsical. To dream of seeing oneself dead was considered good, for it meant long life. To dream of catching a large fish was bad, suggesting impending misfortune. These inversions remind us that Egyptian dream logic often worked in symbolic opposites, where death could represent renewal, and discomfort might lead to unexpected blessings. Archaeologists have also uncovered inscriptions and temple reliefs that confirm the practice of dream incubation. In sanctuaries dedicated to Imhotep, who was revered as a god of healing, worshippers were invited to sleep within the temple in the hope of receiving a healing vision. Some accounts describe the god himself appearing in dreams, offering remedies or instructions. Others tell of symbolic visions, such as snakes, lions, or flowing water, that were then interpreted by priests the following morning. Temples were carefully designed to encourage these sacred dreams. Chambers for sleep were often dark, cool, and cut deep into stone walls, shutting out the noise of the outside world. Priests sometimes prescribed fasting, purification with water, or the burning of specific resins to prepare the body and spirit. The dream that followed was considered not simply personal, but a form of divine communication. Archaeology also reveals the everyday protection people sought against troubling dreams. Amulets shaped like gods of protection, Bes, Toret, or even scarab beetles were placed near the sleeper. Scarabs, in particular, symbolized rebirth and transformation, linking the nightly journey of the soul to the sun's rising each morning. Some sleepers may have tucked small papyri inscribed with protective spells beneath their mats. The very act of writing out a spell, of giving form to protective words, was thought to guard the dreamer against wandering spirits or hostile forces. What is remarkable is how these beliefs tie directly into the broader Egyptian worldview. The Egyptians lived with an acute sense of cosmic order, known as Ma'at. Dreams, like the flooding of the Nile or the rising of the sun, were part of this delicate balance. They could reveal when harmony was maintained or warn when disorder threatened. And yet, mysteries remain. Scholars still debate the extent to which the dream books were used by ordinary people versus priests and scribes. Did farmers in distant villages consult them, or were they reserved for the literate elite? Did dream incubation happen only in temples, or did families create their own small rituals at home? The fragments of evidence leave many questions unanswered, and perhaps that is fitting. Dreams themselves are elusive, half forgotten by dawn, caught between memory and mystery. As you imagine these ancient practices, picture yourself lying within a temple chamber, the walls cool against the desert night. The smell of incense lingers in the air, the soft murmur of prayers fading into silence. You close your eyes, waiting, wondering what vision might come. You do not know if you will dream of animals, of water, of gods themselves. But you know that whatever vision arrives, it carries meaning. For the Egyptians, the night was never empty. It was alive with possibility. So far, we have seen how the Egyptians prepared for sleep in their homes, how rulers and priests sought divine guidance in dreams, and how archaeology preserves the mystery of dream culture. Now, let us pause to compare the different ways dreams and sleep rituals shaped lives across Egyptian society, from the highest elites to the humblest workers. In the palaces of the wealthy, sleep could be a luxurious ritual. Linen sheets, cooled with water before nightfall, softened the heat of the desert air. Servants might fan their masters until slumber took hold. Perfumed oils were rubbed into the skin, and pillows were carved, not only from wood, but sometimes gilded or inlaid with ivory. For the elite, dreams were matters of state as well as spirit. A troubling dream might prompt the consultation of temple priests. A reassuring dream could be announced publicly as evidence of divine favor. Among scribes and priests, dreams became subjects of study. These literate classes had access to dream books and the training to interpret them. For them, dreams were not only personal experiences, but also tools part of a broader effort to read the will of the gods. When a farmer dreamed of a flood, or a soldier dreamed of victory, it might be a priest who translated the vision, connecting the personal to the cosmic order. Contrast this with the life of a laborer or a woman tending to her household. Their beds were simple mats, their protection from night's uncertainty perhaps no more than an amulet tied around the wrist. Yet, their relationship with dreams was no less profound. A mother might pray that her children would sleep free of nightmares. A farmer might rise at dawn, recalling a vivid image from the night and sharing it with neighbors as a warning or a promise. Interestingly, women were often associated with protective aspects of sleep. The goddess Tauret, with the form of a hippopotamus, a crocodile's tail, and the limbs of a lion, was a frequent guardian invoked by women in childbirth and beyond. Her presence extended into the realm of dreams, where she could protect sleepers against harm. For men, protective deities like Bes, with his fierce grin and squat, powerful body, were more commonly represented. In this way, even the gods of sleep reflected the rhythms of daily life and gendered roles in the Egyptian society. In rural villages, collective experience shaped how dreams were understood. If multiple people in a community dreamed of ominous signs, fire, famine, or storm, it might be taken as a shared warning. Elders or priests could be asked to interpret these collective visions, which sometimes influence when to plant crops, when to hold festivals, or how to prepare for the unpredictable flooding of the Nile. The military, too, carried its own dream lore. A soldier preparing for battle might look for dreams of lions, hawks, or crocodiles, each symbolizing strength and divine favor. To dream of falling or drowning was more troubling, a sign that caution was needed. Whether or not these dreams altered strategy, they offered a layer of psychological preparation, a way for individuals to face uncertainty with the sense that destiny was somehow revealed to them in the night. For the dead, dreams and sleep held yet another layer of meaning. Egyptians often described death as an eternal sleep, a passage into the next life, where the soul would awaken in the company of the gods. Tomb inscriptions sometimes included prayers that the deceased might sleep peacefully forever. The act of lying down at night mirrored the eternal rest hoped for in the afterlife. Thus, each night's sleep was not only a daily necessity, but also a rehearsal for eternity. Across all of these, life's royal and common, priestly and humble sleep was never just the absence of waking. It was a realm of vulnerability, of mystery, and of possibility. Dreams were woven into the social fabric, uniting the people of Egypt in a shared belief that the night could reveal truths the day could not. And so, as we return from ancient Egypt, let us carry with us the quiet wisdom of their nights. For the Egyptians, sleep was never simple. It was a sacred crossing, a nightly journey where the soul might leave the body and wander in the company of gods. Dreams were not mere fragments of thought. They were messages, omens, and signs threads connecting the human world to the divine. We have seen how ordinary families prepared for the night with lamps, incense, and whispered prayers. We have heard how pharaohs and priests used dreams to guide the course of kingdoms. We have followed the traces left in papyri, where dreams were catalogued and interpreted like a language of the night. And we have glimpsed the contrasts between rich and poor, soldier and farmer, each one bound by the same mystery that sleep was a doorway and dreams a voice that could not be ignored. Tonight, as you drift into your own rest, perhaps you too may think of the Nile flowing softly in the dark, of temples silent under the stars, of a people who believed the night was alive with meaning. Just as they did, you may let your body sink into comfort, your breath slowing, your thoughts dissolving into gentle images. Whatever dreams come, know that they are your own fleeting, mysterious, and part of the long human story of sleep. The Egyptians believed that dreams could offer protection, healing, and guidance. In their calm faith, perhaps there is something for us as well, that even in darkness, the mind can find light. So rest now. Imagine the desert sky above you, vast and endless, the stars steady and timeless. Imagine the sound of the Nile moving quietly through the night, and let yourself drift as countless dreamers have drifted before you, carried by sleep into the soft and boundless world beyond. Good night.